So we're looking at functions, and we're going to also look at default argument values. And we've looked at a function earlier with our Fibonacci function where we had one one argument go into our function. So we're just going to create something that's just a tiny bit more, but nothing really complicated, so we'll make our function, we'll define a function, and we'll call it add to add numbers. And we'll add, say, for example, the numbers a and b, and this adds a plus b. We won't even put in the input of the arguments. We won't put anything else into the doc string. We will just return. In fact, we'll just return as quickly as we can. We'll just return a plus b like this, a plus b. So that's all that this function does. It's a function to add, and then we can do maybe a def subtract like this, and again we will have an a and a b, and we'll put in another doc string. We don't actually even have to put a doc string in, we'll just put one in for what we might call completeness. In fact, I won't even put add, I'll just do this does a minus b, and up here we'll put this does a plus b, and we will return over here, return a minus b. And we sort of like get the hint of what this does, and we can sort of like do our result is equal to add, and then 5, 3, and we are going, and we can print out our result. So let's print out print our result, just like that, and we get to the print of the result. And we can also do over here on the next line, result equals subtract, and then 5 also 3, that will give us a positive number coming back. So print again, print, and then result, and we get the subtraction. And we could even do, if we wanted to, let's put them both into, so we'll get rid of the second print statement, and this time we will do we'll even remove, or we'll do result sum, and then result diff, and we will print out result of the sum, and then comma the result of the difference, and we can get both of the numbers back in one. There we go, we saved ourselves some lines of code. Now that's fantastic, but at this point in time we haven't done any default arguments. We've just shown that we can have more than one argument, and we could even, let's implement something that has even more arguments in there. So let's just do add more. So we'll take this same function, and we'll just call it add more. Right, it's not a sum function, it's just going to add up like 5 things or 4 things, a, b, c, and d. So we can take in as many arguments as we like, and this will return us a, b, c plus d, and it will be a plus b plus c plus d. So we get the idea that this works like this, and here we will put in the add more, just so that we can show again that we can stick this into the print statement as a function or as the variable that got returned from the function call in the first place. And we can do, I don't know, let's add up 1, 2, 3, 4. We know what the answer to that is, but anyway, so we get the sum of that, which is 10 at the end. So 8, 2, and 10. So we can put in as many arguments as we like into a function, but we haven't yet addressed what this default arguments values means. So just by way of good example, let us just pull over the default arguments values here from the Python documentation, and the most useful form is to specify a default value for one or more arguments. This creates a function that can be called with fewer arguments than it is defined to allow. So, in this particular worked example, this function here, we've got a prompt, and the user has to, that when we call this function, the user has to input prompt. Now, these other two values here, they've got like an equal sign, so retries equals 4 and reminder equals, this string of print try again. Now, the user can put the second argument in, retries, and then call it with like retries equals 10 and give the user 10 tries. But if the user actually, if the coder, if we leave it blank, then what will actually happen is retries will automatically default to the value of 4. So that's quite convenient to use. So that's called a default argument. So we can take this out. So I'm just going to copy and I'll move it out of here. And now we will put it into this little section here below. And what it's going to do is this one's going to prompt us. So it's going to do input of a prompt, and what we're going to get, so we're going to get this input that comes at the top. It'll be, it's going to come up somewhere here when we actually run the actual piece of code, and whatever we have in this prompt, it's then going to it's then going to put feedback into this OK value, and we're going to test with our OK. We're going to test with an if statement, and if we get a Y, a yay, or a yes, then it's going to return true. And if we get an N, an O, and a NOP or an OP, then it's going to return us back a false. So it's that kind of thing. And here's our number. And each time in the while loops, we've got a while true loop. The retries is going to count downwards. It's going to decrement by 1. We could put minus equals 1, but we'll keep it like this because it's perfectly readable. And then if retries is less than 0, so when we get to a certain amount, so once we've got to 0 number of tries, the next one afterwards is going to do something new. We've not seen this before, but it's nice to introduce it in the code. It's going to raise a value error. The nice thing about this actually is we get to learn a second thing. Not only are we going to learn that we can have default values in a function, but we will see this value error raised. And we know that when we've done things before, we've had this error message come up that down below in the results part of the Jupyter Notebook, we get this red comment saying value error. You've got some sort of error. Well, this is actually what's happening in the background in those functions. There's a raise statement, and the raise statement raises this value error. So we're going to just run this. We'll still get the first line of this code coming out here. That's the result of the above functions in the example, but we're going to be prompted for something. We'll have to put in what the prompt will be. So let's call this function. So we'll do an ask of OK, and the function's over here. There's no doc string in this particular function. So, we could have put a doc string in, and it might have been better to have a doc string to describe the function. But anyway, we'll open up the brackets, and we can see here that we get any retries. And it says retries here is an integer. So it's of type int, and it's got a value predefined as 4. And this one's this variable here, the reminder, is of type string, and we can see what the string is, and we can even see that we're getting back a Boolean value, and presumably the Python interpreter has done its type inference. It's seen these two return statements, and the two return statements give us back either a true or a false. We don't actually, we're not returning the value error at any point in time, so we just get the value error if something happens, and that's pretty much it. So let's just, I'm just wondering if we need to, the ask OK, we do need to, so again, hovering over it this way is a little bit cleaner because we see each of our variables on one line of code, on each line. Here we need to put in the prompt value, so we'll put in whatever the prompt is, like, is your day, how do you feel, are you feeling good, and then the answer will either be a yes or a no answer. And these ones we won't put anything in. We'll just let the defaults come about and see what happens. So we'll do an "Are you feeling okay?" That looks like how the function works. We're calling the function. I put a space there because in the prompt normally there's no space after this character, so maybe you want to have like one space after the character for the input, but that, you know, that's by the side. So we're going to run this piece of code. We'll hit Control Return, and just up here, if I can, I'm not sure if I can, double Control, yeah, up here, this is where we get the question that pops up in our input box effectively. So that's our input box. Are you feeling okay? So we'll enter a value, and if we enter something like, well, we'll type in a yes to start with, and you know, that's fantastic. It's answered the question. So we'll run it again, and this time we're expecting to get 4 tries. So we'll see this raise error. So we'll sort of like put in, you know, some random stuff, dot, 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 dot. We'll put in something that doesn't qualify, like great. Are you feeling okay? I haven't answered it properly. So now, and we keep getting these please try agains. Hello, I put in hello as an answer back, and we're now on try number 4, I believe, because here's our try again, try again, try again, try again. So we'll put in one further one, like a dot, and here we go. We get this value error as well. This is the value error, which is raised out of here. We've got a value error, and here is actually the message response that we're getting back, so invalid user response. So we've actually done 2 things in this piece of code. The first thing we've done is used these default values, and we could give ourselves more tries, but let's be impatient. So let us put are you feeling okay, and then comma, and notice how it's moved over. So here's our prompt, that was any, and now retries int equals 4. Well, let's just overwrite that, and we could even put retries if we wanted to over here equals, and we'll give ourselves 2 retries. So we could comment it like that. And also, let's say the prompt has to be a string, so str string, right? So now when we hover over our function, it tells us that prompt no longer can be anything, but prompt should be a string. There we go. So we have something a little bit extra. And when we are inside of here, I think if we, well, probably if we do the open brackets again, I might have to do it on a new one, ask underscore okay. I'll just do it like that. We see now prompt is types. It's telling the user what it's expecting to have, which is a string. So we'll try and do it. We'll give the user 2 goes this time. So we'll hit run, and we'll put dot, and then put dot again. You've had your 2 tries. This is try number 3. And it throws the raise error a bit quick. So we had this time we input the retries equals 2. So you had 2 tries, and then the third one it failed. So we were able to do both with the default argument variables. And let's just run it once, just as complete, just to get it right. And we'll put are you okay, and we'll hit a Y for yes, and hit return, and it's all gone fine, and it's true. So that's basically 2 things that we've actually done, which is the default argument values, and also just subsequently a nice raise for raising an error in Python. And that's it.